Hello everyone, welcome to episode 209 of Show Fever. Today we'll be going over the Search for Tsunade arc of the original Naruto manga. So, I know how I mentioned last time that Jiraiya's like, you know what, I'll go look for Tsunade for the position of the 5th Hokage. Well, right after that, bam, the greatest band of misfits in all of Shonen appear, the Akatsuki. And for here specifically, it is Itachi Uchiha, the GOAT, the best character in all of Naruto, and Hisame. And so we see as Itachi and Kisame both pull up to Konoha, and they are ready to smack down. They're ready to acquire the Nine Tails. And so we see as they go stop by a little bit of a food shop, and we see as Kakashi is walking by and all that. We also see as Kurenai and Asuma pass by, and Kakashi and Kurenai and Asuma kind of have a brief discussion. We see ultimately as Kakashi pulls up, and then Sasuke pulls up, and little does he know his brother is right there, the man who is the ire of all of his vengeance, is just sitting right there eating him some good old grub. So then, after this, we see as the Akatsuki get up, and then Asuma and Kurenai end up coming up on Kisame and Itachi. And they start to put the whooping on them. The Akatsuki go crazy on these two relatively higher level Jonin. And they are ultimately saved when Kakashi ends up coming in and helping along the way. And so here actually is where, well, actually not specifically at this moment, but here in this fight is where we get the first mention of the Mangekyo Sharingan, which is a Sharingan that's acquired by seeing a loved one or a closest best friend or something like that die in front of you. And then you activate your Mangekyo and all of that. We see as, well, we actually don't see the specific deaths that caused it for a lot of people, but, like, we know how it works. Like, we know that the death of Rin activated it for both Obito and Kakashi. Spoiler warning, my bad. But, yeah, so we see as Kakashi and Itachi start fighting, and ultimately Itachi is able to get Kakashi into Tsukuyomi, which is essentially a perpetual state of pain, but it's all hypnosis, it's all genjutsu. We also saw in the previous fight as Kurenai attempted to use genjutsu against John Genjutsu himself, Itachi Uchiha. What did Brody think she was doing? She knows that Itachi is known for his genjutsu, because she knows him. Like, they know each other because they come from the same village. I mean, Itachi was known everywhere because he was the child prodigy who was commander of Anbu team at age 13. Like, what? So, I don't know why she did that, but ultimately we see is that Itachi beat it, then Kakashi comes in. And we see as they have a bit of a challenge, but ultimately Kakashi's able to tell Asuma and Kurenai to close their eyes before Itachi using genjutsu on him, but he's able to catch Kakashi, and Kakashi is unable to beat it, and we see as he has to remain in the Tsukuyomi realm, getting tortured while being crucified, and then we see as they kind of, the Akatsuki kind of prepare to give the smackdown a little bit more, but then the blue beast of Konoha himself comes out of nowhere, Might Guy, and Might Guy ultimately ends up essentially scaring Itachi and Kisame off. Though they technically weren't scared, they were like, you know, it's probably not the best to waste our time doing this, because this isn't our goal. So we see as they take a tactical retreat. Now, I didn't much speak on Kisame, but Kisame, we get to see Samehada, which is his legendary sword, and he kind of goes crazy with Samehada, but he doesn't do too much, but, like, we see the skill there. So, then after this, we see is like, you know what, they're going to go and search for Naruto, and we see as they go about looking for him and all that. We also see ultimately as Sasuke, in fact, learns that Itachi was back here, and that Itachi is looking for Naruto, because Naruto has the Nine Tails in him. So, we then see as Sasuke goes to look for them, and we see that Jiraiya and Naruto are on in like a little hotel along their way towards finding Tsunade, and we see as Jiraiya ultimately ends up getting seduced by a woman, and Naruto's left to go and practice by himself and work on his chakra control in the room. And after this, we see then as someone gives a little tap on the door, and Naruto opens it up. Huh? Who is it? Itachi Uchiha looking through the door. This moment is unspeakable amounts of aura. And we then see as Jiraiya ends up pulling up, because he's like, yo, dude. Well, actually, not Jiraiya doesn't pull up yet, but he does pull up here in a moment. But we also see as Naruto is almost captured, but then we see Sasuke pulls up, and he gets Itachi's attention, and Sasuke gets his butt whooped. He gets belt to butt. Like, he gets it handed to him. And ultimately, he's like, yeah, Sasuke, you're too weak, bro. You ain't got enough hate in you. And this mentally breaks Sasuke. And we then see as Itachi's like, nah, you know what? You're so disappointing. I'm putting you in like a 72-hour loop of you seeing our parents get killed by me. Because we get to see actually a more detailed vision of the Uchiha clan getting slaughtered by Itachi, and we learned that how Sasuke was put in this genjutsu as well during the time of the actual Uchiha massacre. So we see this happen, and but we don't also see it as Jiraiya pulls up, and Jiraiya is dealing with this handedly. So we see as he looks, okay, Asuma, well, I think Itachi doing this stuff was cool. Jiraiya looks John Genjutsu, who uses ocular Genjutsu, dead in the eye. Jiraiya was the go for that. That was actually sick. And he looks him dead in the eye, and we see then as he starts to fight Kisame and Itachi, and he summons like this, he uses like this frog throat intestine something jutsu, and he puts him in here, and we see then as Itachi, who's predominantly focusing on Sasuke at the moment, Sasuke gets absorbed into the wall so he can get attacked by Itachi. And, oh my gosh, excuse me. And then we then see as Kisame's like, yo, we got a problem here. And then Itachi's like, yeah, we do. So they then try to escape, and it ultimately starts to close around him. Jiraiya's like, you won't be able to escape this. However, we then see as after using Tsukuyomi on Sasuke, that Itachi has to use Amaterasu, which is his other Mangekyo Sharingan ability, burn a hole in the frog's gut lining and escape. And we then see as Mike Guy comes out of nowhere because he was pursuing him and whaps Jiraiya because he didn't have a proper like pocket mirror to see him, so he thought Jiraiya was the bad guy. But yeah, or the villain. And so we then see as Jiraiya goes, seals up the Amaterasu, and then they head off to Tanzaku, which is the city where Tsunade is residing. We see that she's gambling away. We also learn that Tsunade is the granddaughter of the first Hokage, Hashirama. Well, Hashirama Senju. She's obviously Tsunade Senju. And so our actual search for Tsunade kind of continues here. Now, throughout all this, we're seeing as Naruto is being taught a new jutsu progressively by Jiraiya. This is called the Rasengan. It is a noteworthy jutsu of both Jiraiya and Minato, the fourth Hokage. And so we just kind of see as this plays out. Ultimately, Naruto kind of struggles for it. And then we see as someone else is searching for Tsunade. It is Orochimaru and Kabuto. They end up running into Tsunade and trying to strike a deal. They're like, yo, Tsunade, if you will heal my arms, then I will resurrect the two people that you love the most. Naoki and Don. Don, who was her lover. Naoki, who was her little brother. And she obviously doesn't make a decision at the moment. Orochimaru's like, I'll let you think on it for a week. And so we then see as Jiraiya and Naruto end up running into her. And they're like, yeah, okay, so what I need you to do is I need you to come and be the fifth Hokage. And she's like, I don't really want to be the fifth Hokage. People who want to be Hokage are fools. We see as Naruto freaks out about this, and he goes and duels Tsunade in the streets, and she dogs him, obviously, dog walks him. And then we see they kind of have a bit of banter, and she's like, you know what, train the Rasengan and get it mastered in a week, and I'll give you this necklace, which is a very important necklace because she gave it to both Naoki and Dan, with them both dying while in the possession of it, which is very tragic. So it looks like it's a bad omen, but it has not killed Tsunade. So we then see as Naruto goes on a bit of a training arc, and we get a lot of backstory on Tsunade. We see how Naoki had died in the Great Ninja War. We also see how Dan died in the Great Ninja War, and she's unable to save Dan, even with her using her medical ninjutsu. We see how she actually suggested putting a member on a ninja cell who was trained in medical ninjutsu for each cell to avoid injury and stuff like that during the Ninja Wars. And just a little bit more backstory on the legendary Sannin, or the legendary 3 Great Ninja. So after this, we see ultimately as it comes to the day, and Tsunade appears that she's going to go and accept Orochimaru's plan. But she also made a request that he wouldn't attack Konoha, and we see she pulls up and it acts like she's going to heal his hands, but no. Kabuto ultimately ends up stopping as he recognizes, yo, that medical ninjutsu was filled with bloodlust. So we then see as fight breaks out, and we also see as Shizune, who is essentially Tsunade's little like handmaiden, has a little bit of stuff to do here, but ultimately nothing crazy happens. Now, we saw prior to this that Jiraiya had been drugged by Tsunade on a drinking night to nullify his chakra because she was I think she wasn't wanting to interfere, but they also, well, at least Orochimaru and Kabuto presumed that she was going to use him as a human sacrifice, because to use Ito Tensei, you have to sacrifice a person for each person you resurrect. But yeah, so saw that. Then alongside that, we also see, like I said, the fighting breaks out. So they end up going, and Tanzaku Castle is ultimately broken down because we see as Kabuto and Orochimaru escape using their snakes, and then we see as they're pursued, ultimately getting out of this battlefield. So we see also as Jiraiya and Naruto join along, but Jiraiya's not able to do much right now because his chakra is suppressed, and so we see Tsunade predominantly fighting Kabuto, and she is able to do pretty well against him. She used like this electrifying ninjutsu to like swap all of his movements. Like how if he tries to move his ankle, it tries to move like his right arm or something like that. But he ultimately ends up breaking out of this and dealing pretty handedly with Tsunade at first. However, then Jiraiya, like I said, Jiraiya and Naruto start helping in a little bit more. We see as Naruto's fighting Kabuto, and he's not doing super great at first. But we see then as Jiraiya kind of keeps Orochimaru entertained, and they kind of start fighting and all of that. And Jiraiya's not able to use a lot of good ninjutsu, but he's able to kind of keep his own. And we then see his Naruto and Kabuto fight, and this fight is one of the better ones in this arc. All the fights in this arc are genuinely really good, but like this is one of the more noteworthy ones because we see as Naruto tries Rasengan, but he's unable to do it properly because he still doesn't have it completely mastered. He can't do it with like one hand and aim as well. So we see as he struggles kind of a bit. However, ultimately, we see as it gets down to the wire and he has to summon a shadow clone, and to do this, he is able to target the Kabuto alongside getting the Rasengan built up by using the chakra rotation and all that, and he slams Kabuto. Kabuto goes flying into a rock, and ultimately Kabuto is defeated while Naruto also falls out here. So Tsunade starts freaking out and trying to heal him, all that, and we see as he is ultimately healed and everything seems good. We see as Jiraiya is able to beat away Orochimaru for the time being. However, Orochimaru is like, you know what? I can't have Tsunade helping this kid. I gotta let him die. So we see that he attacks Tsunade, stabs her, and Tsunade it just keeps letting herself get stabbed to protect Naruto, essentially. But she then ends up whipping out this like meiotic jutsu, which allows her to heal progressively based off stored up chakra within her head that she's been storing for years, at least on her forehead. So we see as she heals up pretty quickly, and then a summon battle happens. We see as Tsunade ends up summoning Katsuyu, who is like this big slug. We see as Kabuto and Orochimaru end up summoning Manda, who is this massive snake summon. And then we also see as Jiraiya and Naruto attempt to summon Gamabunta, but they actually only summon Gamakichi and this other Gama. I can't remember what his name is. It might be Gamatsu or something like that. But yeah, so ultimately they are able to summon Gamabunta. Gamabunta ends up getting summoned, and then we get this massive three-way summon battle. So Katsuyu doesn't do much at first. She does end up helping heal Naruto alongside Shizune, and we do see as they start fighting. Ultimately, Manda deals with Katsuyu pretty quickly. Katsuyu does end up bursting away though. And we then see as it's predominantly a fight between Manda and Gamabunta. And this fight goes crazy. I love the summon fights because I love seeing how a frog fights. And it's just super cool. I love seeing Gamabunta. And ultimately, he does end up dealing with Manda by throwing his knife in the air and having it land in between Manda's mouth, like pegging it to the ground. So after this, the fight is kind of done. We see then as Orochimaru and Kabuto are like, you know what, I don't actually have to have Tsunade to heal me and all of that. He's like, there is another way. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's through his body transfer jutsu, but he's got to figure out a way to do it without his hands. And so we then see as the conclusion kind of comes. He kind of starts to draw to an end. Naruto is given the necklace because he mastered the Rasengan in his week, like he made a deal with Tsunade. And ultimately, Tsunade agrees, I will be the 5th Hokage because of what you've done here and how much dedication that Naruto has shown. So ultimately, we see as they prepare to head back to Konoha for Tsunade to be christened as the 5th Hokage. And that is predominantly where the arc ends. I love this arc. I was so ready to reread this arc specifically because I didn't much like it when I first read it. However, when I first watched it. However, after rereading it, it is phenomenal. I loved like the appearance of Itachi because Itachi's my goat. This is the first major appearance he has. And then like the 3-way summon battle and like all of it. Well, not necessarily 3-way. It was a 2v1, but still, it was sick. I loved this arc so much. It had so many good fights, so much good character development, so much cool stuff to see with Tsunade. Tsunade's design in the manga, honestly, her face kind of looks like a cat to me for some reason, but it's still cool. And yeah, I love this. This was great. I love the Legendary Sunning. They're probably one of my favorite groups of ninja in all of Naruto. But yeah. So that's all there really is to say about the Search for Tsunade arc of the original Naruto manga. I think that's all I really have to say because, I did just love it. So yeah, that's all there really is to say for that, and that's all I really have for episode 209 of Shelf Review. So thank you very much for watching.